Welcome to the REI Hacker Podcast, where we unlock the secrets of real estate success. Join us as we dive into the journeys of top investors, mentors, and industry experts. And now, let's hand it off to our host, Benson Juarez.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for being here on this edition of the REI Hacker Podcast. Really excited for my next guest. His name is Mark Stubler. Mark is a native Utahn and the founder of Joe Homebuyer franchise, a real estate investing business that helps build great leaders who thrive in the off-market real estate investing world. Mark spent many years in his career as a salesman, selling fencing and other products. But he took a leap of faith to create financial independence for himself and for his family. And he's built the Joe Homebuyer franchise into a multi-million-dollar business. And he provides a blueprint for his operations, and it enables anyone with the grit and the wherewithal to be successful in real estate investing and create financial independence for themselves and for their families. And right now, Mark, I think the franchise has grown to over 75 locations nationwide, which is really impressive. Man, I'm so excited that you're here with me. Thank you for being here.
Hey, it's my pleasure, and I'm really, really grateful you're having me on, and I hope I can provide value, and I know we're going to have a good time, but I hope it provides value for those listening.
Well, I know you will, unless you just turn off the mic and sit back and relax. I believe that you're going to be able to share some great experience and just like your journey through, where you started out and how you got to be here. We don't need to go back to when you were crawling around on the ground, but we can go back to your professional career. And before this, you were doing sales, right, for vinyl fencing. And being in the sales business is a hard enough job as it is. And, in many organizations, the salespeople are the most highly paid people in that organization because they provide the most value. And you were doing well there, but what would drive you to go from something that you were already having success into completely changing your career and going into real estate investing?
That's the question that we all ask, because it was the perfect golden handcuff job. I had so much autonomy. When I say that, I worked for a good company, good culture. And if it makes sense, I'll tell you a quick fast forward later on, but I ended up running into the CEO the other day, just unexpectedly, and really learned a lot on how I run my business today through him. So I had all the reasons in the world to be there if I wanted to work for somebody. I made good money. I only had to show up to a sales meeting once a week on a Tuesday morning, and I loved the autonomy. So really, for all intents and purposes, it was the perfect W-2. There was no cap to what I could make on commissions. Now, the reality was the way that it was structured, I had to be somewhere. So I was trading, even if I was really good and my close ratios continued to go up, I could still only make so much money based off of how many hours in a day. But it was a good journey for 10 years, maybe even, it might have been approaching 11. And I share that because maybe that was a little long, but it provided me so much opportunity. And really, for so many years, I made good money and I don't regret anything. But it led me to the next chapter of my life where I realized, okay, I don't have complete autonomy. I don't work for myself. And at the end of the day, the person getting all the upside is the company, the owner of this company. And something triggered along the way that helped me realize that, okay, if I want more, I've got to become more, and I've got to challenge myself at the next level.
Was this your first attempt
and I can go into
at entrepreneurship, or had you done it before?
Well, I'm the serial trier. Okay, so I'm 43 years old. I had to think about that for a second. I'm 43, almost 44. And throughout the years, right in my early 20s, I had a lawn care business. That was fun. I got into what every good return missionary, 21-year-old kid has to do. I got into multi-level marketing.
Okay.
And I joke about that, but that's maybe too niche of a joke. You have to be from Utah to know that network marketing is a big business in Utah. It gets ambitious, door knocking. I just returned from a 2-year mission to Seattle, Washington, and I had friends making money in the network marketing. That's the direct sales type business where you have a downline and all those different efforts. I got into that. I did some fun things. So I had some experience. I tried some things. But one day my wife looks at me as we have one baby and another one on the way, and she goes, "Hey, do you think it's time to get a job?" Because the income was inconsistent, right? And we had some debt that was piling up. I'd get these big checks, and then it'd be unpredictable. And so I got a job. And I remember I just knew I was good at talking with people, and I was willing to work like a madman. And so I was grateful for the job. First year, did some pretty special things. As a rookie, set some new records, and I made some good money. And I was off. I had never expected to work for somebody. In fact, I just always assumed I'd be doing my own thing my entire life. But that was a 10-year journey. But the gift that company gave me, at the time they didn't know it was a gift, and I didn't know necessarily, but they had me come into the office once a week. Unexpectedly, after 10 years, they said, "Hey, we're replacing the inside sales rep with the outside sales reps. We need you to come in once a week, and we need you to be there for approximately half a day to be the inside sales rep." And I considered that like a pencil sharpening job. It took me from being out in the field to make as much money as I could, meeting with actual buyers and with actual projects, to I'm there facilitating pencil sharpener type equivalent work. And it triggered something into me like, oh, I'm not working for myself. I don't have complete autonomy. I got to do something. And that's where I started really investing and setting time frames and goals of like, when am I going to get out of this? But it was hard because now, this is now 10 plus years ago when I made the transition, but I was making good money, making over six figures. I had some really good years, and my lifestyle kind of started to match that. So it wasn't an easy transition, and it wasn't free from being worried. I mean, it was a scary thing.
Oh yeah, I can imagine, especially having a family and people depending on you. That's one thing. I'm single. I don't have children right now. And, I often wonder if my direction in life would be different if I had people depending on me. Cause I'll take wild chances here and there. I've invested in startup companies. I've started companies, and I've moved on a whim. I moved to St. Louis. I told you I'd invested in St. Louis about 2 years ago. I was looking for a new market, and I just picked up and moved to St. Louis, and I was there for almost a year. And,
oh, wow.
And I have that in me, but when you have a family that's depending on you to put food on the table and put a roof over their head, like, your priorities are completely different. Right.
Yeah. It changes everything.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And then, things from, just putting food on the table to some even the luxuries and what they come to expect. I mean, we ended up finishing our basement. In Utah, most of the homes have basements. Well, we didn't need it. We have 4 kids, but we added, extra bedrooms and kitchens and things, and we actually put renters in there for the transition. So just in case we had some rough months, we had some additional income coming in. And then we had a family boat, nothing extravagant, but I said, hey, look, kids, we're going to sell this, and in a year from now, I'm going to buy another one. So, that they knew that, hey, we're making this investment together. I need your buy-in because I'm trying to do something big for us. And luckily, fast forward, we were able to buy another boat and a nice one a year later. But, we had to make, again, I don't know that I made any major sacrifices, but it was uncomfortable. It took me to the next stage of growth in my life, doing something that challenged me at a whole new level.
Right. So you moved from the multi-level marketing and some of that direct sales stuff to a job, but it sounds like a bit of a contradiction to now go to entrepreneurship again, when your wife was like, it's time to get a job, and you had one, and you had that stability and the consistent paycheck and probably benefits and stuff. Why did she allow you to go back into entrepreneurship?
She is a good woman. We'll start there. Honestly, that's a fair question. I remember coming to her and saying, hey, we got a little bit of money in the bank, and it was less than $20,000. So a little bit of money in the bank. And I said, hey, this program I want to join, at the time it was Tom Kroll. He had Wholesale Inc. And I wanted to join his coaching program. And I'm like, okay, it's $6,000. And I'm like, babe, I'm convinced that this will give me the framework. So at a minimum, it gives us a chance. And if I lose it all, it's worth the risk to me. We've got to try it. And by the way, I should tell you that I had my full-time job, so I was going to double dip. Okay. I was going to moonlight. I was going to do both activities. So that was the protection. It wasn't until 9 months later that I was able to fully unplug from my job. And I had a good enough job where I had been there long enough that, doing both was feasible, and I could still produce for the other company. And I was transparent with them. I said, look, I know you've been paying me this. I want to scale back my quota. I want to scale back my base pay because I am doing something else. And they didn't want to lose me, so they honored that. So grateful for that, opportunity. And so I was able to make the transition. That's not for everybody. My business partner, Cody, now as business partner, he had been in the business for about 4 or 5 months before me, and he had success going through that coaching program. So I had some level of confidence that, hey, if he could do it, he likes this, I'm going to pursue the same journey. And so with those couple data points, I said, all right, we're going all in. We're doing this. And when I say I was running both, I was putting all my heart and energy into the real estate. I was not going to, I was just fully committed to the success. So, yes, I was doing both, but my heart was, in this new opportunity, and I knew it was the future.
I love it. So you met Cody in the coaching program. Is that where you guys first came to meet?
Actually, funny enough, he sold for 1 year at the fencing company. I actually helped kind of hire him, not directly, but indirectly. I sat in the interviews and that type of thing. So we met, we were friends. He went off and did insurance for 5 years. Then he got into real estate, and we stayed in touch over that 5-year period. His wife and I, our wives stayed in touch, the whole thing. And it just came together. So we started independent in real estate investing, and then we came together when we realized, hey, we're in the same market. We're both rocking and rolling. Let's see if 1 + 1 can equal more than 2.
Got it. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a, we live in a big country, right? And we feel like the world is big. The real estate world is big too. There's lots of people, but it's a small world too. Isn't it? It's like you run into the same people, and it's like, somebody who knows somebody. It's just every time somebody talks and they're like, I work with this person, and I did this program, and it's like, oh yeah, I know him. I know that. It's really interesting. Is that, so let's talk about the transition from you having some success in wholesaling and then thinking, okay, I want to teach others to do this, and I want to build this franchise model. Did you start doing that with people that you knew first?
Yeah, actually, funny story. So we were just plugging along. Cody and I are doing it for a couple years. And actually, even just a little over a year into the business, we had some success. And we might have had a little bit of naivety and pride, because we had a few people coming to us saying, hey, how are you guys having so much success so quickly in Utah? And so we're like, hey, we're ready to expand. Why not? We've had 1 year of success. So we start looking to go in another market. So we start putting our foot in the water in Indiana. Now, here's the best I can tell you as to why we went into Indiana. Some people ask, well, why did you expand to Indiana out of Utah? The only reason, this is how brain dead we were at the time, is because one of our other competitors in Utah was also in Indiana. We're like, well, heck, we're doing as well as him, if not better in Utah. Let's go do the same as he is in Indiana. So it was absolutely just, no logic, just on a whim. So we say, okay, and actually what ended up happening, it taught us a very valuable lesson. We could go be effective at one market. We couldn't be effective at both. So we lost focus in Utah by focusing on Indiana. So we pulled out in Indiana and we focused in Utah, and we got better. And so we learned that lesson as to what it actually takes to put boots on the ground, to grow, to have multiple markets. And we realized the model that was going to be best for us is when, we had our foundation and our infrastructure strong at our current location, but that also that our probability of success was going to go up if and when, if we did it the right way, not just to general managers, not boots on the ground, if we had actually people that were invested in the success. What I love about the franchising model is the success of the franchisor is dependent upon the success of the franchisees. In other words, we have to provide a framework and support strong enough that they succeed, that they're producing real revenue, real results, and as the byproduct of that, the franchisor can succeed. So our visions are aligned. We're equally motivated in the success and ensuring that their business thrives. And so that model just complemented, hey, we want to grow, we're ambitious, we have some unique skill sets around marketing, acquisitions, and dispo to optimize revenue. Let's take this into this form. And it just happened that along the way, as we networked and as we were building our connections, we met somebody that was in franchising. We sat down with them and said, can we franchise this wholesale investor real estate model? We have one other example that's done it in HomeVestors, but we think we can do it better. And he believed in the idea and partnered with us. And that's how we got off and running about 5 years ago. 5 years ago. In the franchising world, 5 years ago.
And you're already over 75 franchises. That's insane. That's huge growth.
Yeah, it's been the most welcomed opportunity and challenge. When I say challenge, I love what being an entrepreneur requires of us. I mean, I've never been a CEO of 30 franchisees, 50 franchisees, 50 plus franchisees. So each step of this journey is requiring me to learn more, develop additional skills, become a better leader, and surround myself with the best team. So it's been an incredible journey. I wouldn't trade it for anything. Sometimes when I have those days, and this might be something relatable to anybody, even if you're not a franchisor or you're just getting started, some days I'm like, man, this is tough. And then I almost have to step out of the body, look down at what I'm doing that day and say, wait a minute, I signed up for this. Like, I want these challenges. I don't want to have the ordinary life. I don't want to have working for somebody. And it helps sometimes to gain that perspective again that, no, as an entrepreneur, it is not convenient when crap happens. I mean, we had an awful day yesterday in our own. So we're a franchisor, but we also invest in our own market here in Utah. And we had crap hit the fan at the highest level with a deal yesterday, a big deal, a big swing of revenue. And it required, 2 or 3 of us on the team's attention and everything. And it just fell apart. But you know what? You can't trade these opportunities and experiences and learning that is required as an entrepreneur. You just can't trade it because it requires so much, but the reward is so great. And I'm not talking the reward from a financial perspective exclusively. I'm talking about the reward from just all the experience you capture.
Oh, yeah. But all those experiences flow through into the business, and that bakes itself into the blueprint over time, right? Because all these things that you're learning,
that's right.
It's all, you're going to pass it on to your franchisees. That's what they're paying for. Right. So they don't have to go and learn these lessons on their own and make big mistakes that are unrecoverable. Right. They can lean on you for that.
That's right.
So let's talk about the blueprint a bit. Right. Like, can you break it down for me? Like, what is the foundation that you hand these franchisees that will help to ensure their success?
So the foundation is pretty simple. We help an existing wholesaler investor break through the current plateaus and ceilings. So that's the first thing. I think sometimes people are surprised. In the early days, we'd sell a franchise to, you asked that question and I don't know if I ever answered it. Yeah, in the early days, we would sell to friends, family. There's a joke in franchising that in the early days, you sell to just family and suckers. And, you're a new product and who's going to buy that concept. But over time, we realized that, hey, we really have a meaningful brand and our culture is strong and we continue to grow and provide more and more value. We only now exclusively sell franchises to people that are already in the business and already have success, because where we specialize is taking you from, where you're at and helping you scale. So the blueprint you asked about is pretty simple. We hit these plateaus because of a few different things. It could be mindset related. So we have a lot of structure around leadership. Now that's the chocolate covered broccoli. Nobody wants to hear that, hey, I'm going to buy a franchise and become a better leader. You almost kind of like, you almost have that negative connotation of like, oh boy, that, the fluff type thing. But the truth is we all need to develop, because as somebody like Jim Rohn would say, if you want to make more, you have to become more. And I think I Mark Stublerized that a little bit. That's not maybe the exact quote, but it's this idea that, we all have to develop additional skills. So we identify that. We help our franchisees grow as leaders so that they attract better talent. And then we help them make the decisions in their business to help them scale. So that comes down, so it starts on the leadership side, but then it's very tactical. It's, okay, what are you doing on the marketing? We help them build out a roadmap for marketing strategies, leveraging our strategic partners with the discounts and all the things that come by being part of our network. And then once you're getting your marketing and the leads coming in, what are you doing to optimize revenue? So it's very granular approach. It's how are you optimizing the leads and the acquisitions? What are you doing on the disposition side? Whether you're rehabbing it, or keeping it as a rental, or obviously wholesaling it, what are the best activities to help to optimize? And are you developing and putting systems and skills in your business and developing them individually that can help them scale and break through the next ceiling in their business? And so we have a lot of enjoyment in helping our franchisees identify, the areas that they can improve and then help them execute on that.
Yeah, that's good. I like how you work with people who are already having success. How do you measure that? And at what point are they worthy of being a franchise owner? And somebody who's had some success, what's too soon for them where they just wouldn't succeed in your model?
Yeah, the truth is, a lot of times we're using a revenue mark. We want to see that they're doing several $100,000. We want to see that they've had a pattern of success. We want to make sure that they also have two things true about them. They want to be world-class leaders, both in their home, their impact, who they're becoming, and they want to be world-class leaders that are achieving seven-figure plus businesses. In a perfect world, they're really aspiring to have growth and achieve a lot. Now, we can't promise anything, and I'm not even suggesting that. I have to be very careful in the franchising world. In a perfect world, they'd come to us and say, these are my goals. I want to hit these high levels type thing. And then our framework is to work with them to implement everything that we've learned over the years to fast forward this pace of which they can learn and help them avoid those unnecessary mistakes like you mentioned. But how do you measure it? We've had some franchisees in our new avatar and where we've started focusing over the last couple of years that are only doing, maybe a couple deals a month, but we see their trajectory based off of, their current investment and that type of thing. And we've had others that have come to us that are really already having a thriving business. They have an entire team and their numbers are actually quite attractive. So everything in between, we don't, internally it's pretty well documented exactly our perfect avatar, but we realize that, we're less likely to sell a franchise to somebody that's been stuck at a number for 5+ years. Because to us, that's an indication that the trajectory, there's a limitation. And not that we haven't. We've had those as well. But we like to see upward trajectory, somebody that's really ambitious and that they're up and coming. And that's probably a better indication that they're learning and growing at a fast pace. Our 4 core values at Joe Homebuyer, I think, help us identify pretty quickly if we're working with the right people. And it's easy to remember because it's the 4 H's, but it's honest. But it's not just honest with the sellers, it's honest with yourself and what you're contributing. Heart for others, that's the contribution to the sellers and making sure that you're doing it business the right way. We have a really high standard. That's part of the whole model of Joe is you've got to do business the right way. It's what we refer to as the Joe way. So you have heart for others, you have humble, which means I get it. You did 500, you did $800,000 last year. That's great, but are you teachable? Are you wanting to grow and become more and have a bigger impact? And then hunger is that achievement, that aspiring to grow. But you have to have all 4 because you could be super achievement-minded or ambitious, but if you're not going to have a heart for others with sellers, you might say, the heck with everybody else, I just have to achieve, and you're gonna leave collateral damage along the way, and that's not acceptable. So that's why they have to embody all 4. So it's really culture first that we're trying to attract. But yes, they have to have experience, and they have to want to become world-class leaders that want to achieve big numbers.
Right. So, obviously there's the numbers. People probably have to produce bank statements or something like that to show that the numbers are real. And then there's an interview process. You have to sit down and talk with people and learn, who they are and try to get a feel for them. Are there any red flags that you've been able to identify through this process over the years where people are always going to put their best foot forward in an interview? Are they going to say the right things? They're going to act the right way. They're going to dress the way they're supposed to. Have you found any red flags through that process where you're like, you know what, we just got to keep an eye out for this because so-and-so, proved it, even though they had what it took, they just didn't have the intangibles?
Yeah, I appreciate that question, and I'll answer it a little bit funny way here. You know how hard it is to have somebody come to us and say, here's $50,000, I want to buy your franchise. And we say, not right now, you're not ready. And I answer it that way by saying it's tough because we've committed to our existing franchisees and our corporate team that we're going to honor our core values. We're going to stick with the right people. And sometimes that means we say no to people because they're too early on or they maybe don't embody it. And you're right, people do put their best foot forward. But we really instinctually are able to identify pretty quickly, are they going to thrive in our environment, and are we going to help them thrive by virtue of several interviews and getting to know them and just the process, that whole process of the whole sales process of several interviews with multiple people, and even having on occasion our franchisees do the final interview, we're able to identify in most cases. We've had to make the hard decision a couple times, Benson, believe it or not, where we have franchisees paying royalty, having success, growing their businesses, and it just wasn't the right fit for them and for us. And so we actually parted ways because there was a disconnect from a culture core value perspective is the better way to say it rather than culture. Core value perspective. We'll do whatever it takes to protect the culture. So that is the first criteria. And sure, do we have a crystal ball? That'd be naive to say that. We do pretty well. In the occasions we've messed up, we try to remedy that for them and for our sake as soon as possible. Yeah,
it's almost the hire fast and fire quicker scenario, right? Like you just got to cut your losses, but a little bit of grace as well. But it's refreshing to hear about your approach with the H having to do with heart, because in the wholesaling world, there's a huge kind of negative perception about what wholesalers do, and that they're out there taking advantage of people who are in distress situations. They're losing their house through foreclosure, or they're in bankruptcy, or they just got through a divorce. And, the perception is that wholesalers are taking advantage of these people. And so it was important enough for you to make that 25% of your core values and instill that in your franchisees, that they need to make sure they're taking care of the seller, and it's a true win-win. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
That's right.
And where did that come from?
Love this question. So we actually have it labeled as the Joe way. And before somebody can become a franchise, they actually, I almost want to walk around the corner and take my computer with me and show your listeners, if they get the video of this. We have a plaque on the wall with the Joe way and what that means to do business the right way. Heart for others is one of those core values, but then it has all the franchisee signatures on it. So when they become a franchise, they not only sign the plaque, but they actually sign it in their franchise agreement. So we take that incredibly serious. It's not just artificial. Hey, yeah, we're going to do things heart for others. No, actually, it is reflective of everything we do, the decisions we make. We want to make sure that we do business a different way. And sure, the byproduct of that is, the goal byproduct of that would be, Google reviews are positive and realtors, brokers, buyers. That's with everybody, not just sellers. We do business the right way. We're transparent. We're honest. But heart for others means that, you're thinking of the other person and making sure that it is in fact better. One of the things that we commit to make it actual, where the rubber meets the road, check this out, because not everybody relates to this, and that's okay. This is just something we've committed to. But when a seller specifically says, hey, I know I signed the contract yesterday or 3 weeks ago and you're ready to close, but guess what? My problem went away. I'm actually not selling the home. And you might have assigned it for this or whatever, and I'm not selling the home. We won't force the seller to sell their home if it's actually better for them to keep it, which is really unorthodox in the industry. And I think there's others that do this as well. But so what I mean by that is, quick example story. I had a seller. She was threatened by her son, of all people, that lived in the home. He was coming home drunk and angry, and he lived in the basement. And so she just had to remove herself from that situation. We were providing a real service. That's what our businesses provide. And unfortunately, there's some negative connotations, but the truth is our industry exists because people really can benefit from fast and convenient and safe and authority figures of our nature to come in and help navigate a challenging situation. Well, in this case, this lady had a week or two go by. We're about to close, and she said, my son moved out. I've changed the locks. I don't need to sell anymore. I feel comfortable staying here. And so we didn't force the sell because we knew with certainty that she really wasn't just trying to sell to another cash buyer. And as a result, we just got out of the way and didn't force that because it wasn't the right thing. So we want to provide service to people that can benefit from it, and that includes putting them into a better plan B. So just because they want to sell, what does plan B look like? So just this year alone, we've helped people relocate. We've helped people buy new properties. We've put deposits down with new purchases, deposits with rents, transitions with, storage units, and all sorts of commitments. But that's the fun part, is really making it a meaningful transaction and transition for them. It doesn't have to be a slimy business. In fact, it can be the most, quality preserve. I'm not articulating it very well, but it really can be a business that is just highlighted by service, because people really can benefit from, our help in this industry. You just have to do it the right way. We don't. If if we choose to assign a contract, I'm going on a soapbox. I'm almost done here, Benson, but I appreciate you letting me answer this question because we're passionate about it. If we assign a property, we don't renegotiate with the seller to optimize profits. We don't retrade is another way that people say it. If I have an assignment of $1,500, I'm like, crap, I wish I could have made $15,000. I don't go and renegotiate just so I can get a higher assignment. If I can turn a profit, I turn the profit. I don't renegotiate with the seller. That's completely unorthodox because we committed to a price with the seller. Let's get it done. So there's little things like that, and I can go into nuances because there are so many nuances.
That's some companies' whole strategy is retrading. Like they just try to get in the deal, get a contract, and then they plan on going back. Like that's just how they do business. And that's slimy. I've always felt that because there's so many other people that could have given those people a better offer that made sense for everybody. It was a better win-win.
Slimy.
That didn't involve a retrade. But then the seller gets involved in this and they're thinking, man, we don't have to go out and find a new buyer and all the inspections and all that stuff. So they're just like, fine, let's just do it. So I appreciate you bringing that up because that is one of the things about wholesaling that isn't in the media and it's not in, outside of this industry, but within the industry, it is definitely a black mark on the wholesaling world.
That's exactly right. And they'll do it 2 or 3 days before closing or whatever because they have the seller in a precarious situation where now's the best time to renegotiate if they're just trying to retrade. And then let's get granular here. You're sitting down with the seller and the seller is asking for a price that is, because of what they owe or because of debt situation or because of just ultimately what they want for the home. They just won't budge. What do you do in those situations? There are on occasions that we'll have a heart-to-heart conversation with the seller and we'll say, the price that you're asking is significantly different than X, Y, and Z that we had talked about or that I proposed. You're proposing this. We met here at this number. That number, frankly, is not ideal. It's not ideal for you. It's not ideal for us. I'm willing to explore options. I'm willing to put an agreement together today. But I have to tell you, I have this 10-day due diligence period. Is that going to mess you up if you don't know for 10 days if this is a done deal? And in that 10 days, I'm going to have my friend come out and I'm going to have him tell me exactly what my rehab cost is going to be. And I'm going to have others come out and I'm going to tell me what they might even partner with me should I find somebody else that actually wants to do the rehab on this and work with them as a partner on that. I'll explore whatever options I can if there's an opportunity for a long-term or short-term type rental. But I can't promise this is a done deal for the next 10 days until I explore a few options. In those cases, when we've communicated at a really high level, are you okay with this time frame? Are you going to be frustrated if I can't pull this off? On those occasions, sometimes we're calling back the seller and saying, hey, good news, we're able to make it happen. And in other cases where he's saying, hey, we told you this was a long shot. Unfortunately, we're not able to make it work. Keep on exploring your options. Call us back if something, if you need us. But I hope you get your money type thing. And on occasion, maybe even a small percentage, they'll say, okay, I still want to work with you. What options do we have? But that's when you're totally forthright and you're not putting, but I'm telling you, when we negotiated a deal, we've had it recently, and we were going to make $750. And we didn't renegotiate with the seller. We just made the $750. I had a franchisee in Tulsa the other day that lost $4,000 and still assigned it and got it done and paid the difference to help the seller. So we really want to be mindful of the sellers. I know there's 1,000 different scenarios, but at the end of the day, it's just having transparent conversations with the seller, and don't put them in a position where they have to renegotiate with you or retrade because you put them under, over a barrel at the midnight hour.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That transparency through the whole sales process can go a long way. You have less people back out at the last moment. You have less people go and talk to family members and come back and say, oh, my Uncle Jim said you guys are taking advantage of me, because they fully understand what's going on, right? Instead of having like a 20, right. Well, no, like a contract that's like a 2-page contract that no one's protected.
That's right. Maybe
even leaning on the state approved contract. I know some wholesalers use those to show legitimacy and be like, this is a contract that's approved by the Department of Real Estate. I'm not sure if you guys do that, but that
right.
That does go a long way when you're doing the extra steps to make sure they're protected and you're protected and everything's contractual. Yeah,
I think the contract has to be really, really like transparent. So we, depending on markets we're in, if it's a closing attorney, different things, we have some of our franchisees use state approved, others it's a attorney generated. But in either case, it's very clear that, one of the options is to assign the contract. And we can explain what the assignment is. One of the options is to rehab the property. In either case, we're investors with intentions to make, profits on this agreement, on this transaction. So it's just about making sure that it's very black and white. A 2-page is not our style. It's, probably overkill, but it's several pages, but it highlights our intentions, because the truth is, when you're providing meaningful service to the seller, there is zero reason to be shady about your intentions. Just tell them what you want to do, and guess what? The seller is not going to object if you're providing meaningful value. Like, never. They're going to say, okay, what do you mean you might partner or assign this agreement? It means that I might not end up being the end buyer. On this one, I might just work with somebody else, and I might assign them the rights to buy this, but it won't change the terms of this agreement. We're willing to have the tough conversations if it means that the seller really understands what they're signing up for. And the truth is, when you're providing meaningful service, it's worth the explanation because they appreciate it and they trust you at a higher level. And it's just the right way to do things. And occasionally, you'll have sellers that really want to know all those things, and they really dive in. And we actually had a seller one time tell one of our franchisees, I've heard of wholesaling. Don't bother coming out to my home if you're going to wholesale it. Well, luckily, the guy that was coming out, our franchisees, many of them do all the exit strategies. They don't just do wholesaling. He goes out and he looks at it and goes, I can tell you right now, I'm not going to rehab this one. I'm going to more than likely assign this one. And the sellers originally said, don't even come out if you're going to play the wholesale game. After he met our franchisee and they had, just human-to-human connection and clarity and transparency, he goes, okay, yeah, I trust you. Do whatever you need to do. As long as you do X, Y, Z on the agreement we put together, that's great. I'm happy, whatever you do. I hope you make lots of money. So it doesn't serve you to be deceptive or to limit the information. It's unnecessary.
Yeah. And you actually just answered one of my next questions, was going to be, is it strictly wholesaling, or do you do any of the other exit strategies? But it sounds like, depending on the franchisee and their skill set, you will. It's just the blueprint is more about lead generation, and you can also figure out what to do on the back end.
Yeah, we're really good at helping create systems in your business to generate the leads, put the right marketing in place, have the right KPIs to track, to pull the levers in your business. We have something that's referred to as the LOAC, and you can actually get this as a free tracker that you can go in. The LOAC tracks your leads, opportunities, appointments, contracts, and closes. So all you have to do is go to joehomebuyerfranchising.com. So just joehomebuyerfranchising.com, and you can go and there's lots of free things that you can go on and there's 4 or 5 different tools that you can use to help grow your business. This LOAC tracker might be the most valuable of all of them. Why? Because it tracks your leading measurements in your business, the leading indicators that will help you make the right decisions. So our franchisees get these leads, and we want to make sure that they're optimizing their efforts. They can track the ratios and see if they're on the right track. So that's not a direct answer to your question, but it's a tool that will be helpful for anybody that wants to make sure that they're observing if they're doing enough with the few leads that they're getting. As they scale, then it will grow with them.
Yeah, we gave the LOAC out as a free giveaway with Cody
when Cody was on. That dog. I got to give something better than that then.
So we gave it out, and we did a big blog post on it and everything. And so hopefully that sent you guys some people. But let's talk about the leads for a moment.
Another one that you'll find out. Well, I have to outdo Cody real quick because I'm happy to talk about leads. I have to, Cody did great. He did the LOAC tracker. That's awesome. Okay, but now you're ready for the next thing. You're a CEO of your business, but you want to be the CEO of your life. And when I say CEO, you're the chief everything officer of your life, right? You're doing everything. You're wearing all the hats, and you want to get to chief executive officer, where you have an actual team and you're growing a business. That is one of the tools. If you go to Joe Homebuyer and Franchising as well, go to the CEO Reset. I think it might even be the CEOreset.com, but just go to joehomebuyerfranchising.com and then you can get it. But that's another tool that gives you the framework for how to reset and make sure that you're calibrated as and on the journey of becoming the real executive of your life and your business.
Awesome. Leveling up constantly. Thank you for that.
Yes.
So you mentioned leads there, and leads are important for any sales organization because without leads, there's no closings, right? And I've known some HomeVestor franchisees over the years that didn't have the best experience. One of the things they didn't like about HomeVestors is that there was a marketing pool, and they all had to contribute a certain amount into the marketing pool, and then they would get a proportionate amount of leads based off of their amount of investment into that pool. But they could only do approved marketing strategies. So whatever HomeVestors wanted to spend the money on is the only leads they could work. They couldn't go out and generate their own leads. And I'm not sure how you feel about that, but do you have any sort of limitations with your franchisees?
I don't like that model at all. So as a investor myself and as a franchisee myself, that's why I think I relate so well with our franchisees is I'm one, meaning I run my own business. I'm an active investor. And I understand that if I tried to pool my money and that was exclusively the way I was going to get my leads, and it was round robin, that there's so many there's so many reasons why that's a broken model. For example, you have one person that's willing to spend, $25 or $40 or $50,000 a month, and the person next to you wants to spend 10 or 15, and they're getting 1/3 of the leads. Well, their one that comes in is a bunk lead. There's just too much. There's too many conflicts with that. And then when you're right, they're limiting. So we have a very autonomous marketing. Now, when I say autonomous, you don't have to become a marketing expert because we have the experts for you to leverage. We have the roadmap for you to utilize. But you put that in place with complete autonomy. You're not limited to a billboard and direct mail. We do them all, right? You can do anything. You can even do social media. And you can even promote your business to joint venture with people. We're not trying to restrict you. In fact, we're trying to create abundance in your life and your business. We want you to be the foremost expert in your business, in your market. We want everybody coming to you. Now, the irony is other franchise models like HomeVestors are going to say, well, I can't track that lead. So I can't collect. We just trust that our franchisees are going to utilize our systems and best practices and that they're going to report their revenue and be happy to continue to grow with us. And so we don't put any limitations on that. And then we still have all the upside of, some people, and then HomeVestors is going to tell you, well, and again, great company. They're the OG of franchising. We're just the improved version of franchising. But they're going to tell you, well, no, you want to bring everybody's money because the buying power is there. Well, yeah, we have the benefit of the buying power as well. We just don't limit them to those channels. We can still aggregate and bring money together and get the power of the group. You get the best of both worlds with our model.
Yeah. And I understand part of the reason why they want to do it is because they want to respect the geographical boundaries of the franchisees' areas of coverage, right? So they don't want somebody in northern Indiana who's in Gary taking leads from somebody who's in Indianapolis because they did a social media post, right? I think that's part of the reason. Yeah. Am I right?
Part of it. I think that's part of the reason. And we have active campaigns with our franchisees. We actually assist them with that, with their social media. And the truth is, if they get a lead, if they're in Denver and they get a lead, in fact, I had my Denver franchisee the other day say, hey, I've got some Alabama leads. Who's our franchisee out there? And, connecting the dots type thing. And the reminder I gave him is, connect with our Alabama franchise or just run with it and do it yourself. Either way, you're going to make money. Depending on how you structure it with the partnership with the other franchisee. But we do not limit our franchisees. We give them territories so that they have their areas and they're protected. But if they happen to get a lead, not because they're marketing in Alabama from Denver, but if they happen to get a lead, we don't limit their ability to be profitable on that. We just ask that they're not proactively marketing outside of their area. So it works well.
Is there a rev share built into that? Like if they were to refer that lead to the Alabama franchise, they can get a little spiff? Or it's just maybe like
they can joint venture.
JV, right? So, but it's not like, is that built into the?
However they want to do it.
It's up to them, right? It's not built into the franchise agreement, but it's up to them to negotiate that.
Yeah, and we have a pretty collaborative franchise group that we haven't ever had to date, knock on wood, had an issue. People just work together well because, a lot of Joe is run by Joe. And what I mean by that, a lot of our franchise is actually the franchisees supporting and running the franchise. We had a franchisee spin up a book club recently, and is networking with all the franchisees to just get going on the book club. And you think, oh, that's cute, that's nice. But it's a very strategic book that's helping them all change their mindset around scaling and growing. And we just add fuel to that to help support them grow and everything. So they are very protective of the culture. So it's been really cool to see that they support each other and they're helping each other in growth. That's why we have to be so protective as to who we sell a franchise to, is because when somebody comes to the franchise, believe it or not, we're not asking them to have the mindset of, what will I get if I invest in Joe Homebuyer franchising? We actually want them to come into the mindset of like, wow, look at all the things I'm getting, but what can I bring? They have to actually have a skill set, a value, and everybody does. We just have to identify, are they willing to share and bring their best so that we're all enhanced by working with this new franchisee.
Right. So, I mean, you've had so much success over the years, Mark, and doing, launching this franchise, and they're having success. What's next for Joe Homebuyer? Is it more locations? Is it maybe doing some stuff in another country like Canada? Is it maybe building in more infrastructure for people who want to build a portfolio, or maybe you guys could do syndications together, or some other asset class? Like, where are you guys taking it to next?
Yeah, we've got a lot of work in our own world, across the nations. A lot to do still. So what's next is, we're not just selling franchises for franchise sake. We want few franchisees thriving and doing well, versus just an abundance of franchisees throughout the country that are getting modest or mediocre or poor results. So our model is different than maybe a mainstream franchisee or franchise system that will just sell to anybody. And the reason why that's so important is it becomes more and more valuable when each of our franchisees becomes the leader in their market. So we're not content with our franchisees just being a warm body and a warm face. We really are helping them grow to next level results, so that the impact throughout the nation is realtors, brokers, buyers, and even sellers start to get familiar with the Joe Homebuyer name. So we have a lot of growth. One of the major initiatives we're helping our franchisees with from the corporate side today is actually generating leads for them through strategic partnerships and other strategic alliances. We're able to, creating, revenue opportunities for our franchisees that they're not necessarily even paying for. And so there's a lot. I mean, the initiatives are through the roof of what we still are working towards and need to accomplish, but the infrastructure is built, and the community is really fun to be working with, and just incredible franchisees. But man, I can't even think of Canada or anything else yet. We've got so much opportunity here in our own backyard.
What about have you guys ever thought about starting a fund where you can build a fund and then you could take down more deals, maybe fewer assignments, but you could use the cash from the fund to close the deals? They could still flip them or do something like that. And everybody could contribute, or you could even bring in outside investors. But I feel like that would be a logical step to support them financially.
Isn't that cool? That your questions are just spot on. There's so many ways within this model to just create just a moat around our franchisees and just give them the most powerful resources. Right now, there's no shortage of funding options for them in terms of strategic partners and resources that way, whether it be transactional funding or everything down to a DSCR loan for long-term hold type thing. But yes, always improving the financing options we're providing at the best rates, the most availability, the smoothest process. All of these things, title, transaction coordination, marketing partners and strategies. These are just all the things that we continually work on to invest in and around our franchisees to help support them.
That's amazing. I'm sure you guys got a lot of plans behind the scenes that you're working on too, that you just can't talk about. And I won't dig too deeply on that, but Mark, it's been great to talk to you. Like, I really appreciate you, spending time with us and pulling the curtain back a little bit to see, what you got going on back there. It's been a lot of fun.
No, dude, Benson, It's always a pleasure to be, on a podcast, but specifically your thoughtful questions and your willingness to have me to, I love talking about these things. I hope that it wasn't just informational about Joe Homebuyer. I hope it's inspiring to anybody that's, considering leaving a W-2 type thing, for anybody that's, considering making that next step, right? I just love, and I've said this, so I'm a broken record, but I just love what entrepreneurship requires of the individual. It is literally the truest form of personal development because it requires so much of you to develop new skills, both emotionally and then obviously business skills and acumen and all these things around, business growth and what, KPIs to track and what levers to pull in your, I just love it all. And then all the things that it requires you to become personally. So you got more than you asked for with that question there, but I'm just grateful and hopeful that I've inspired some people that, look, 10 years ago, I was just making good money as a salesman, and my life has changed significantly. Sure, I've made more money than I ever made as an employee, and sure, I've done some fun things, but at the end of the day, the leadership, the skills, the opportunities I've developed and grown that way are the most choice rewards of the things that have come from my experience.
Amazing. Well, we're going to make sure to put in any of the links that you talked about before. We're going to put those in the show notes. So if somebody wants to connect with you and learn more about Joe Homebuyer or connect with you, where can they find you?
Yeah, I appreciate that. You definitely, you can track me on like Instagram, StubFam. So just STUBFAM, StubFam. But really, Joe Homebuyer franchising is just a great way for you to get free tools and just get familiar with who we are. And, another thing is, look, there's probably a franchisee in your market. Reach out to them, learn from them, partner with them. And I think you'll find we have a pretty collaborative culture, and they're going to help you set you up for success as well.
Amazing. Well, Mark, thank you again for being here. Everybody, if you have any interest in Joe Homebuyer, make sure to look into it. Go to the website to get those free tools, the LOAC and the CEO scale tool reset.
That's right.
Go get
That's
those.
Right.
These are free tools that you can use in your own business, in your own life to level up. And then, keep an eye out for more amazing guests like Mark. We're going to continue to bring in industry experts and entrepreneurs and business people who are just out there moving and shaking and doing cool things. So make sure to check that out on the next episode. Mark, again, thank you for being here. And everybody, thanks for listening. We'll see you guys next time.
Thank you, Benson.